Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
James the Wildcard.
How's it going?
Good. I just recently went to the Chinese food place by me, and...
Oh my!
It dawned on me.
The Chinese food place.
It dawned on me that every, I don't want to say hole in the wall because it sounds bad, but, every small little Chinese food place, because there are some bigger ones, but every, small Chinese food place has a little plate, a couple tables to eat in at, but mostly you take it out. They all seem to have the same exact pictures for, the Mugu Gai Pan and all their food up there, the same exact picture on the same exact piece of plateware. It's just, I imagine that if you want to open up a Chinese food place, you contact this supplier and you get all your pictures. I don't know, it just recently dawned on me because, the only Chinese food places I've really been to was New York. I've been to one in Pennsylvania, and this is one down here in North Carolina. I'm like, that's the same plate.
Well, fun fact, all Chinese food restaurants are controlled by the Chinese food restaurant mafia, and you have to have those pictures up.
So if you got so it's kind of like union versus non-union workers. It's we're a non-union Chinese food place. See our pictures? They're different.
So yes, if you take your own pictures, then your restaurant's going to have an unfortunate accident. Right.
I looked at it and I was just pretty sure I've seen this picture in every Chinese food place I've been in.
I'm more convinced, with a lot of that, because there's a couple of places here where the Chinese, by me especially, the Chinese food restaurants always close down and then are reopened again as other Chinese food restaurants.
Yeah.
So I'm convinced the new owner just goes, oh, we don't have to redecorate, awesome.
Yeah, well, it's true because it's not just that. It's that, and you just go, okay, I got that. I got this food or whatever, and it's the same food. And it's likely it's the same type of food, because there's a place called on Old Country Road on Long Island called Tony's Hero Shop.
Mm.
So you'd think it's a hero shop, maybe with some Italian flair to it, because it's Tony's.
Yes.
You go inside and it's all Hispanic food with Hispanic food pictures. You're like, well, did not see that coming.
Well, he sat there, he bought the place, and he didn't want to redecorate, so he just said, you know what, I'll learn how to cook Spanish.
But, all the pictures were all the Spanish food stuff, but the outside was Tony's Hero Shop. And you're like, all right, give me that. But it was decent. It was pretty good food. It was just, me and a buddy walked in there, we're like, oh, we expected a sub place. Nope. We were incorrect.
That's how they get you.
Right? But, so yeah, that dawned on my weird brain. It's like, all Chinese food place things is similar. But how about this Horus Heresy Book 4?
What about it?
I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan of it?
I'll probably get it eventually at some point in my life, but it worries me.
For what particular reason? Is it the fact that there's not really much in it for units and such?
No, it's more like they're okay, books 1, 2, and 3 have different legions in every book.
Yep.
Book 4 has no real stuff for legions. If they do, they have a picture of a dude who looks like a Death Guard dude, and it might be something for legions already, but there's no new. It's like an artwork picture, and there's no new legions in this book that I can tell by looking at its contents, which are listed as to look at.
According to this, let's see.
Well, I know it's in the book, and Solar Auxilia is going to be great because those things look fantastic.
Yes, those are the guard. Those are the guard before they became the guard, right?
Yeah, this is back when the guard was good, fluff-wise,
yes.
Competent. This was there was the Imperial Army as a whole, and the Solar Auxilia is kind of the elite of that.
Yeah,
and
it seems like this book is more dedicated to the Imperial Guard and the Mechanicum.
Right, and it concerns me because I don't know, there's a bajillion knight variants, I get it, let's put them in a book, okay? B, I'm all for having the Solar Auxilia. It's kind of like how they had a Mechanicum through 3 books, now they have a whole nother auxiliary army list to play in the Horus Heresy, which is fine. My concern is that I don't want it to become Black Library-ified, where we have 20 million books, and we're no closer to the end. Because we have 12 of the 18 legions, because 2 were, unknown, done. And and all those players and those fans have their rules. There's still 6 other legions waiting for their rules. that people who want to play them, people who want to collect and want to play that specific Legion, don't really have an understanding of what may be specific to it. They can build a generic Legion Astartes list, no problem.
Yeah.
But, why make them wait and wait and wait and wait for their rules? I mean, the Solar ability is great. The Knight, they could have done that and a couple of Legions instead of that and just data cards for Knights, in my personal opinion. Like, I just feel like this is just pushing the timetable back for the other Legions, and I don't think it's necessarily fair. And the only reasoning I could see for it logistically, and it's something like I was thinking about, but it's still, I get it if this is part of their planning, but I still don't think it's worth it, is them trying to play catch-up with their entries. Because when you go to their Legion Astartes stuff or Legion-specific models, Books 1 and 2 are basically done. We're just waiting on Night Lord Primarch to come out. But they've been releasing some interesting stuff, if you're part of the newsletter, for the Imperial Fist. So that's Book 3. So finally they're going to start digging into Book 3. So maybe they did this book to play catch-up a little bit. But still, at least give us the rules,
From what I've seen, because they have been pretty big on, because in most of the events they've had, they have been, pittering out, their schedule, and I think that is exactly what it is for them. I think we're going to get a couple of these buffer books that are there to help them catch up with all the stuff that they have been building.
Yeah, but I think I on the one hand, I get it, don't get me wrong. I understand the concept of wanting to do that, but for the most part and overall, I think it's a wrong move in terms of, okay, this is one buffer book essentially, but that should be it, to be honest. Because the models, yes, we want the models because they make cool looking models for these Legion stuff, but moreover than the models, people are going to want the rules. And let's say I wanted to make, let's pick the Thousand Suns because they're not out yet. Let's say I wanted to collect Thousand Suns. And I picked that one specifically because that's going to be interesting for Legion rules with Psychers and whatnot. I want those rules. Currently, when you look at the Legion Astartes generic list, I can kind of sort of cobble together something and make it feel Thousand Suns-y enough. And, if the thought concept there is, well, we want them to be able to have the models to purchase right away so they actually buy the models, well, people who are collecting Legions who have rules now already buying models that aren't the ones they're releasing. But, if you're a fan of your Legion, you've got the rules for it, I can almost guarantee that when the cool stuff comes out, like the upgrade frames and the specific models that come out, people are going to purchase it. Heck, I'm going to purchase it probably, and I don't even have those armies because they're going to look cool. So it's just rules-wise, we're not talking just about fluffy. We're talking about full-on rules to build an army list, because it might do something like, for example, one of the Iron Warriors, I believe, from Book 3, does stuff with basically another way of making Terminators be an army list, a full Terminator list essentially, because he does stuff like that, and there's certain special characters that do certain things. Then you look at the Legion specific rules, there's certain stuff and upgrades you can take and different ways you can build stuff. And some Legions are going to be more specific than others and more kind of unique than others. So that's also a fear, I would imagine, and a concern for me, for example, is, well, I like Thousand Suns. If I were to try and collect them now, my worry would be, well, since they're so psychic heavy and specific war gear wise that will change that, I might end up having a whole squad or essentially enough models to comprise a squad that are just useless. You know what I mean? Because they're now replaced by a guy who has this particular war gear, but I glued them together with a bolter or whatever. So, or like a Power Fist, and maybe if they subbed out Power Fist for some Ulcer Copex thingamabob, well then I'm screwed, So, well, not really screwed, but then you just can't use that model. You try and break it apart and re-glue it. But I'm always a fan of, if you're gonna make rules like this, and you're gonna do them in books like this, I understand. And let's try and get the rules out there. The models will come and people will buy. People. We're nerds collecting models. We're gonna collect the cool stuff. We're gonna get, especially even the cool stuff is usable, unlike the Tau Aircast model. But when it's usable,
hey, they're useful when you put them on display stands.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think, like I said, I think these are I think, if anything, because of how long it takes them to build a book and such, we may see one or two more of these. But But from what I've seen in the timetable, I think the only thing that's going to be in really big question is when they're going to do the assault on Terra.
Oh yeah, of course. But the nice thing about it is you can get all the legions done before that.
Yeah, like they already have their plans from what I've read in visits that they had. They have their plans for the Dark Angels already, which their campaign kind of pretty much took up the whole of the Heresy. They think that the next one they're doing is going to be the Blood Angels when they went to the Demon Planet, and the Ultramarines.
Which one makes sense.
And the Dark Angels are going to come in after the Ultramarines are done. And I haven't heard anything. The only news we've heard so far about the whole Prospero campaign was the book was taking time because there was 4 armies they needed to build from the ground up, and no one wants to do Magnus.
Right, the model he would be tough, but it's still I still have my concern because if the book after this is just 2 legions, that's 2 out of 6. To be honest, if they could throw in the Dark Angels with the Blood Angels and the Ultramarines, they're in 3 separate theaters of war.
Yep.
They don't need something crazily unique done to them like a Sorcerer Legion would. So you can have 3 legions there, and then kind of alleviate the pressure a little bit maybe from Prospero, because if they really want to do a Sisters of Silence army, and if they really want to do a Custodian Guard army, or if they really want to do the Spire Guard, who fought alongside the Thousand Sons, so that was basically their Imperial army. Whatever they could do, they could take one and throw it in a different book, because the Custodian Guard and Sisters of Silence did stuff throughout the Horus Heresy, not just there. So they could throw them somewhere else to alleviate some pressure if they if they get the legions out. It's just they came out strong with 3 books, 4 legions, over halfway done.
Yep.
And the last thing anybody would really want is to see them come to a really slow trickle with filler. And don't get me wrong, I like fluff, but it's basically a filler book. And if they have filler book here, 2 legion here, filler book here, and it's like if it peters that way, it could, I think, hurt the series a little bit.
Well, just like any good TV show, in order to keep you to come back for more, they're going to throw in fluff, reminding you what happened in the last book.
Oh yeah, no, I like fluff, but if
it'll be like Horus Heresy Last Time on Horus Heresy will be the next book.
Well, no, but the last thing you need is for this book to be dragged on like The Simpsons.
Yes.
That's the last.
We don't want that.
That's the last thing you need. But
that may also be why they threw in this book. They may have went, crap, we're almost done. We gotta slow down.
Well, by all means, be almost done with the legions. Be done with the legions. Get the legions rules out, and then you can make campaign book after campaign. It prints itself basically. But you need to get the core done, which is, and let's be real. The whole big thing about the Horus Heresy was Space Marine legions. They're the people who they're the big money item there. They're they are the stars of that show, and you get them done. Then you could do a whole campaign book on the Blood Angels on the Demon Planet and the Ultramarines versus Word Bearers and stuff like that. You can have it all, a whole bunch of cool stuff, and then it can eventually, get to that Siege of Terra, whatever it is, and do things in that regard. But we're talking basically, I don't want to say about a codex because it's not, but it would be like saying, it would be like if the Dark Angel Codex ceased to be. And they went, we're going to make you guys... We took away the Dark Angels Codex. We have a new one coming, but in the meantime, just play with the generic Space Marine Codex until we get it out to you. That's basically how it is right now for the other legions.
Basically, yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, that's kind of lame. Let's get these guys some rules.
Yep.
So that was when I saw Conquest. I was like, cool, but I am interested to see how the Solar Exilia plays out. I could really care less about the Knights. They look cool, but I'm just like, wow, we took something that was kind of like a noble, rare thing, and I get it. During Horus Heresy, there's more of them, and we just went, here's your Skittles, basically.
But I love the Skittles.
I like Skittles too, but You know,
clearly you don't, because you're complaining about Skittles.
Because it didn't release the flavor I want, which is the Crusader Knight that has nothing but guns.
Yeah, you and your guns. What do guns ever do to us?
Well, when you're in a conflict, they end it quicker than trying to close the distance. But
no, close combat wins all wars. Haven't you read your history?
But basically, I'm interested to see what's going to happen Imperial Fist-wise. I really want to see the finished Night Lord's Primarch, because he counts as a jump infantry guy, so I'm interested to see what his battle looks like.
I'm very curious to see what they do with him.
Yeah.
The one model that I think I'm the most interested to see, which is weird and surprising, is going to be Sanguinius.
Yeah, because we know what he looks like. Him, but really, I mean, Horus, yes, but aside from Horus, Sanguinius is the most probably well-known looking Primarch. He's had so much artwork done for him. Like him and Horus have the most, and the Emperor, surprisingly enough, have the most artwork and like real intricate, like cool shots of them. So it'll be real interesting to see if it turns out to be like. I'm really interested to see it too, because I like anything that looks angelic like that, because he looks like I'm an angel. But
because he is.
But I'm interested to see when they do him if I'm gonna go. Yep. That's him. Like with Horus, it's a great model, but I wasn't overly impressed with it because I'm like, that looks like Horus, just like he's supposed to look. Like, it was that good. Yeah. Where, like, what can you say other than, yep, looks like
that's it.
That's it. So I'm interested to see if I'm going to have the same reaction with Sanguinius. Because, I'm not trying to take away anything from that model of Horus, but it's like, that's Horus. I can't be surprised by it because he's so well documented.
Pretty much.
But, so, hopefully I do Sanguinius in the same light. The only other one I'm really interested to see done, well, aside from me just wanting to see how they do the Lion, because he's my favorite, but Lion aside, I have an idea for that, but I'm really interested to see how they do the Jahagati Khan, whatever his name is, of the White Scars.
Oh, Khan!
Because he has like a bow thing, and like a sword, and he rides on top of a rhino. So I'm interested to see what they do for him. Which
people have been sitting there, like, I'd go to the game store, and they'd be like, yo, dude, did you hear Gulliman's getting, like, a Thunderhawk? And I'm like, dude, out of all the Primarchs, Khan's the one who gets the short end of the stick with that. And he's like, why? And he's like, he rides a rhino. And they're like, really?
Yeah. But he was the only Primarch to ride anything back in the day, and then they gave Rogaldorn an awesome Thunderhawky thing. They gave Perturbo
a Bane blade?
Super heavy blade, like a whatever, like
a Stormlord or something like that.
Stormblade or something like that. Something big and destructive.
Super heavy tank.
Yeah, some super heavy tank of destruction that would just basically...
That he built himself.
Yeah, that played in a normal game would basically go, you win. Because it's not meant to be in normal games. He rides that. I forget if there was something else for somebody else. That might have been. But basically, everybody... They got super heavies. The Khan gets a rhino.
Yes, just a rhino.
It's going to be the most awesome rhino ever. It's going to have 14 all around. It's going to have 3 structure points. Like a super heavy.
3 structure points.
It's going to have super heavy points. It's going to be a super heavy rhino.
It's a super heavy rhino. Well, if it's true, and they do make a rhino for him, or anything, like, if they make stats for his rhino, this is what I kind of, for a lack of a better word, demand Forge World do. Khan's display stand is the top piece of the rhino. So you could just take the top piece off a rhino and snap it on, and bam, it's him on his rhino.
That would be pretty cool.
And that's just his display stand. Have him have his little regular band, but his display stand be the top of his rhino, so you can turn any rhino into his.
Yeah, but it's just like, I really hope if they're going to give him a transport, it's not a rinky-dinky rhino.
No, it's going to be a plain old rhino.
Yeah, probably.
But it's going to have the goes faster rule in it and have an inch extra movement.
Nice. But I'm really interested to see him because, to be honest, I have no idea. Like, I've seen some drawings of him from, like, the old card game and whatnot, but it's obscured a bit, and he looks to be, like, golden or bronze-esque armor, maybe some white in there, but it'll be interesting. Also, he's got the like a top knot and like a weird. He's got facial hair and everything like that, and he's got like a weird
Yeah.
blade. So it'll be really cool to see what they do with him, because I would say, really, out of all the Primarchs, he's one of the few who you really go, I have no idea what he's going to look like.
Yeah, he is the one who has like the least concept art around him.
Yeah.
One Primarch, I'm only, despite everything, like, but the major thing that what's piquing my interest more and more is the fact that I've been hearing the story is that they don't want to do him is Magnus. And I'm like, holy crap, if everyone's afraid to make this guy, then what was the concept art for him like?
I've seen the concept art for him.
No, I mean, like, they're going, oh, I don't want to do him. That makes me feel like someone drew, like, this is how the model should look like, and everyone's sitting there going, yeah, no.
Well, you know what's funny? The funny thing about Magnus is, you know, typically, traditionally, when they make a model, they do the 3-up model first.
Yep.
It's 3 times. They just got to make that, and that could be Magnus. There's no need to make it smaller.
Yeah. Yep. But, like, that's what I'm so curious about. I'm like, what design or what final product have they decided on that nobody wants to work on it?
It's probably nothing crazy in terms of detail. It's probably like, I don't want to make that, like, they're probably not sure how to do it size-wise. Because...
Either that or balancing.
Because you know what's going to happen. Model-wise.
It's going to be huge.
He's going to be the size of a Titan. If they... essentially. He's going to come up to, like, the midsection of a Titan. When you compare him to the other Primarchs, because he's by far the biggest of all the Primarchs.
He is the tallest.
Like, Terminators come up to his chest, and that's it.
Yep.
Like, they come up to, like, his
he looks down on the Emperor. Like, not because he thinks he's above him, but because he literally is above him.
He would be... I think he would be a bit taller than the Emperor. But, it's just... He's huge.
There's one picture of him with everybody, and he's like half the picture.
He's just huge. And aside from going, how are we going to bake him from size and pricing, and then you got the biggest thing is not so much the models, the rules, like you were saying, because he's huge. He's a Primarch number 1, so he's no slouch in just beating you with his fists, right? He's got a weapon as well.
Like an axe or something.
He's got a big, like, Kopeshi axe thing with Bob of kill you. And he's the Sorcerer Supreme, essentially.
Pretty much.
Like, he is, like, second to the Emperor in psychic ability.
Yep.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very big step from Emperor to him. But he's still second. He's
like one of the most
biggest sorcerer of the Primarchs, by far. By leaps and bounds, nobody can touch him on the Primarch side.
It's, for anyone's like idea of just size proper here, there's a picture with him, and there's a Terminator behind him, and a Terminator in front of him. The Terminator in front of him, his top of his shoulder pads goes just below his pecs.
Yes.
He is huge.
He is absolutely gigantic. And that aside, that much resin, he's going to be the most expensive of the Primarchs just because he's that much resin. But rules wise, he's huge, but he's not like fat. He's muscle, so he's very big, very strong, and capable in close combat. He has also got all the psychic potential. So how do you balance him well enough? Is the hard part.
I think it also may be because of his hordes. They're sitting there going, "How do you make him stand without him just standing there?"
Yeah. Perhaps.
Because he can't be like Logar and just be standing there.
Yeah, Logar just stands there because he's a wuss. But yeah, he is big. I mean, I don't know what you would do to him. You would have to give him the only other pose you could give him is him blasting something with psychic ability. But like,
or his descent from the heavens when he finally came down to fight Russ. Yeah.
But it's just like, he's big, he's tough, he's psychically capable beyond measure. Rules-wise, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do rules-wise? Because, I mean, I'm sorry, but when he comes out, he better just auto-pass, to be honest.
He should.
Like, either auto pass or have tons of reroll capability. Like, I mean tons. Like, not just one reroll, but a reroll for reroll for reroll. And he should be immune to perils, because... An
interesting thing I would think of for that is you can't get a modifier against his psychic powers. Like how when people get denied the witch, they're like, oh, well, I'm a psyker, so I get plus this and plus that type of thing, so I only need a 3 to deny your witch. It'd be like, no, you don't get any of that, because he's Magnus.
I don't think you even should be able to deny him, because he's Magnus.
Balance-wise, I think they're going to have to, but I think it should just be you get no modifier. And you need maybe 1 extra than what he casts. So if he casts 3, you need 4.
Yeah, and you should, either that or like some other type of negative to you, and if you succeed, you should have to re-roll.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, oh, you denied him? Try again. Oh.
or one thing is one thing that could be potentially is Magnus automatically negates one of your successes each time you try to deny the witch from him.
Maybe.
So, oh, yay, I rolled the 2. Oh, wait, Magnus cancels out 1, so I only rolled 1.
And it's just like, I'm not trying to build him up because I'm a fan of Thousand Sons. I'm just trying to build him up because I read Thousand Sons, and he destroyed an Eldar Titan and an Orc Titan with his mind. So,
yep. And people are like, he did that. I saw it.
Yeah. Like, he looked at it, he thought about it, and blew it up. I mean, that's...
And let's also not forget when he went and attacked the Space Wolves, he basically came in and said, I want you all to run away. And all the Space Wolves went, well, you know what? We should run away right now.
Basically. Like, which is impressive also because, he's affecting the minds of multiple Legion of Astartes. But
he's affecting the whole thing. How can you do that?
But, like, he dismantled Titans with his mind. Not just an Orky thing, which he did, it's an Eldar thing, which is more impressive.
He should be able to, because they're grown.
Yeah, he basically ripped it apart with his mind. And, you don't mess... Like, I don't know how you represent that fairly on the tabletop. Yeah,
no. It's a whole lot of not fun.
Yeah.
And speaking of not fun... GW's latest Shield of Baal has come out and is sold out.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about this whole making things, even non-limited edition stuff, limited now?
Well, Shield of Baal, Shield whatever.
Shield of however you pronounce it.
Yeah. It should not... All right, it's hard to put it in a way that makes sense, but okay, if it's sold out now, and there's nothing really special about it to begin with, it should come back. Like this should be like wave 1, and then wave 2 is normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how that should go, with something like that, which is basically their campaign books for doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And funnily enough, their interactive e-editions can't sell out, so
yep.
It's also a way to kind of push more people buying that stuff.
Which is what I was thinking when I saw this. I was like, I wonder if they're just really trying to push the digital now.
And don't get me wrong, digital is going to be the future for everything like that. So I'm
not complaining. I have a bunch of digital stuff already.
I mean, it's great that they're going that route, don't get me wrong. But if it's not a limited edition book, this better be a wave 1 and then additional waves to come.
Well, supposedly, for those who missed out, you have the opportunity of get it back because game stores are getting their own copies.
Yeah.
And so if you're not friends with one of your local game hobby shop stores, you better hope you're there when everything's done, and that not all of the friends of the game store wanted the game book.
Yeah, and to be honest, because it's not an essential item to play standard games of it, you'll probably be able to find it on the shelf.
Yeah, you just need to find someone who owns a copy and say, hey, who wants to play?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, but it's whatever. Selling out is weird, which is why I hope it's going to be... This was just like, here's a splash release, and then later we'll have more to come. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you see probably in the beginning of December the book come back.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I'm not that surprised either, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's whatever. It's interesting, but again, not essential. So I'm not worried about it, and players shouldn't be worried about it, unless you're like, I really want this because I'm a hardcore Tyranid, or since it's
Sisters of Battle,
or Blood Angels fan. Then
I was shocked. I wasn't expecting Sisters to get artwork in the book. I was just expecting them to get and the sisters were there. That's all I was expecting. I was not expecting a piece of artwork to go with it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. No, it's just like you gotta let them see the light every so often, I guess.
Yeah, make people happy. And what about the other new cool pre-order stuff that they've got going on there? What do you think?
Well,
is there anything you like, you don't like?
Well, I mean, we're talking about like the 40K stuff, or
just the pre-order 40K stuff, any of the Warhammer stuff.
The invasion, like the Tyranid stuff's interesting. I'm not a Tyranid guy. The Zoanthropes look a bit better. They look a lot more stable than how old Zoanthropes were. Because the old Zoanthropes, like, how am I supposed to put this model on the base properly? But
everyone should be happy because one can be basically a Doom of Malatai. Yeah,
and it's nice. Zoanthropes are one of my favorite things from them. But
well, they're Eldar pieces, so yeah.
So
that's why they have big brains.
Yeah, big brains. But other than that, like the Ultimate Paint set, again, cool. I'm a big fan of paint sets.
I just really wish that I could get the box without the paints, because all I want is the box.
Yeah, the box is nice. Will be nice.
But, and I don't know if anyone, I guess I'd have to go to eBay and see if anyone just sells the box by itself, because I really want that box.
Yeah, the Project Box web bundle that they're doing, interesting concept. The tools, having those tools are great. I mean, those are nicer looking ones than the ones I have from them, oddly enough.
My green stuff tools are getting all bent.
Yeah.
And warped.
That mold line scraper thingy, mold line remover, it looks like a stupid silly tool. It is great because it has a curve to it. It has a convex and a concave curve to it. It's got a straight. It's got like a corner notch thing. Like it fits in a lot of different areas for a lot of different shapes. So if you got like a mold line on a curve, you can put it on, depending on the shape of the curve, you can take the mold line scraper's curved parts to it and you'll get it without worrying about making it too flat or anything. So it's really, really handy to have. I have the old one where it's just like a black handle, and I got it. I'm like, this is gonna be dumb. So then I tried it, and I'm like, hey, I like this. So surprisingly enough, it's pretty cool. I kind of like their Project Box.
The Project Box is pretty awesome.
I like that. I thought that's really clever.
What I like about it the most is now don't get me wrong, I still use the old paint stand because it works, it's great for what it does. But I like this one because more paints can be held on it, because I'm sitting there with the one, I'm like, why do they think I only need 4 paints to paint a model? And this one has portability in mind.
Yeah.
Like the other paint trades, like where am I going? This one, it's, pack everything nice up and neatly, put everything in there, it has its own little compartment, and I can go.
I have to say, it's honestly a really good idea. I use a tackle box.
It can store up to 49 paints.
That's a lot.
That's impressive.
It is. It can store more than my tackle box. Now, granted, my tackle box also has trays and stuff to hold bits and things, but the lid of this becomes basically your paint tray.
Yep.
So,
and I have a little tackle box for when I'm traveling with my paints too.
Yeah. But like this honestly is tempting enough to just get this in place of a tackle box. And yes, I know it says Citadel on it, but you can just get it no matter what game you play, really, because this is a really good idea. Now, I don't know
I believe it or not, I went to a War Machine paint night with my paint tray, and no one said anything.
Yeah, you're allowed. It's okay.
Yeah.
But,
And besides, it doesn't matter. I kind of like the little demon thing on the front, and Citadel, like, said, you know, I mean, you bought it from Citadel, so they're gonna want to slap their name on it.
Exactly. But, like, I just really like that a tackle box is going to be much cheaper because tackle boxes, depending which crazy one you get, are cheap.
Yeah.
You know, they're pretty cheap to get, but
like the price of this one,
the project box is $66.
Yep, for the price of this one, I could go to, like, say, a Dick's Sporting Goods and get one twice the size, and it would be like the ultimate, like, army transport case for, like, X-Wing or something.
Yeah, and to be honest, this project box, like, I get a tackle box, and for that price, I could get a really big tackle box and multiple trays and everything, and it could hold all my paints basically and all my tools. But what it can't do is provide me with a paint station, and to be honest, that's what you really need when it comes to painting, because paper towels only will go so far. That's what I typically use. But when you have something you just paint over, you don't have to. It just becomes neater and cleaner. You don't have to worry about it. And see, it's a nice. It's a plastic, so I got paint on it. I guess I can wash it off. Yep. So
the only thing I'm not a fan of, there's only two things in this new series that I'm not a fan of. First is the new paint palettes.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Paper? You're selling me paper.
Yep.
Something I could go anywhere for and get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nothing fancy about this paper. It's just paper.
Yeah.
I might actually go and get the last remaining plastic palette trays from the game store by Elena, because I don't want to get paper ones. And the new mug, or I'm sorry, water pot.
I don't mind it because, yeah, it's a water pot thing, but it comes with a bit box, which is good to have, and you could use it to drink stuff out of.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, really, you know, when I expect, like, I like the design of the other water pot better because it had a place to hold my brush.
Right.
So, like, which was very good because, like, if I was like, I have this situation now, when I was painting some minis this weekend, my mother asked me if I could help her, so I was like, okay, I had to put my brush down, but my brush still had paint on it. So I was easy to put it in the little notch, walk away, do the thing, and then go back.
Yeah.
With this, I drop it in, and now my brush is bent.
Yeah, I mean, if you leave it there for a long time, yes.
Yeah.
And the palette pad thing, which is basically paper palettes, it's a neat idea. It's just not necessary.
Yeah, I think it seems like it's more of a, now, you know, I'm just speculating, you know, like being the, you know, the hater in me, as you would say, it feels more like they're like, wham, the paint palettes, no one's buying extras. Let's make it so they have to.
I don't know if they went that extreme with the paint palettes, but I think it's more like, I think the paint palette pad thing is interesting for people who don't make wet palettes. Because the wet palette, you know, it takes baking paper and it takes paper towel, because you can't just use paper towel because then it gets real messy and goes everywhere. But, you know, and not everybody makes those or uses them. They're great to use, but not everybody does. And what I really like the palette pad for, if you're going to do a dry palette situation, the thing I really like about it is the idea of it's good for on the go. It's good for painting wherever you're going to go, and then it's good for painting and tossing. And yeah, it's really easy just to clean up and, you know, rinse things off. But let's say if I was going to go to a hobby store or to a friend's place, whatever, you could pop that down, paint, and then just throw it in the garbage. And, you know, ultimate and clean up right there. For on the go, it's nice. However, for the bulk of what I do painting-wise, pretty much all my painting, which is I'm just there, sitting down with my stuff, not necessary, because a more permanent solution is better.
Yeah.
So that is meh. The water pot and bits box, it's cool. I just wish the mugs weren't just different colors. I wish a design on it would be nice.
Yes, to be honest, like one of my friends was like, "Oh, I'm going to pick up the Caliban green one." I was like, "I would if it was the Dark Angel symbol."
Yeah, right. And it just says Caliban. It's just like one side's the shield, the other side's the color, and it says Caliban green on it. A little unnecessary because it's not like that's full of Caliban green paint. Like, if they wanted to do like the Fang and they give you the Space Wolf symbol, that would have been cool. So having a green like that Caliban water pot and putting those Dark Angel symbols.
Yeah, like right now we've got 4 jars here. You could have done, Macrag Blue. You could have done Ultramarines, the Fang, Space Wolves, the Fiston Red, Blood Angels, and Caliban Green Dark Angels. I mean, that's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, so I would have liked it a lot more that way, because then I would have just used it for coffee. But but it's not bad. The biggest thing I like is the Citadel Project box, and
that is probably my favorite out of all these.
The only
and
thing
the mats.
With it is, if you don't use Citadel paints, they may not fit as nicely into those little paint holders, but they'll still fit as long as they're not wider than it. So it'll still sit there and hold it. It may not as secure, but it does hold a lot. I mean, it does hold your tools. A bigger tackle box it could hold a bit more in that regard, but this holds a lot. I'm really impressed with the Citadel Project box.
Well, what I like about this, aside from a tackle box, because like you said, I could get one that's bigger that holds more. What I like about this is I feel it's just the right size for me to, like, let's just say, for example, when you were still here and we did our paint project.
Yeah.
With this box here, I could just simply go, okay, what am I going to paint today? I'm going to paint this, so I need this, and tap it, and bam. The box has everything I need just for this thing.
Exactly.
But when we did it, I had to bring a tote and such, and then I'll sit there going, did I bring this, and why did I bring this? I don't even use this, and stuff like that.
Exactly. And what I really like about the Citadel Project box is the lid comes off to be your painting tray, but it can go and sit on top of it if you want an elevated painting tray.
Yep, which is always nice.
And then with that, you can take the paint out of it, and the paint holder can sit on an angle outside the paint box, the project box, so you have all your paints right there. So it's a very good job.
Yes.
I really have to say it's a good. I like it. $66. People probably go, that's a lot. But when you think about what it's holding and the size of it, and it's not that bad. I mean, yes, it's a price, but
it's not as bad as it's no worse than some of the stuff people would buy to supplement it.
Exactly. It really isn't. And the fact that it's purpose-built for it, it's not like, I supplemented it, but it doesn't quite do this, or doesn't quite, this does it. And I like that.
Like I said, like when I went to one painting session, there was people with tackle boxes and such, and the result was there was a bunch of tackle boxes taking up room, and we couldn't paint anywhere because there were too many tackle boxes.
Exactly.
At least with this, it's like, take your stuff out, clamp, boom, and then everyone has their nice little private quarters.
Right. So, I mean, I do like it. I think they did a good job. Size-wise, I couldn't tell you, but it seems to be of a decent size because, like I said, it holds everything.
Well, let's see. It holds 49 paints, so all we got to do is line up 49 paints in rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
So lines of 7 with 49 paints, and according to the picture, it looks like that fits length. That'll give you width and about 85% of the length.
Yeah, it looks like it covers all the stuff except for the 2 right little things.
Yep,
but
little compartment thingy.
But yeah, no, it's definitely of a nice size. So that is probably my favorite thing that they've released.
Yeah, that's something that I probably won't go out and buy it right away because I'm a poor man, but I'm going to keep my eyes out for this. And when I get a chance to grab it, I'm going to grab it.
Oh yeah, same here, because it's definitely nice.
And the new cases, man, back in my day, we didn't need these fancy cases. I still have one of the old original 3rd ed 40K cases.
I have one. I have a case. It's green.
The only problem is all the foam is destroyed,
and
I can't buy new ones because GW doesn't make the new old ones anymore.
Yeah. But
at least I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either. But, that's what I like out of that. Now, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh. I don't do good with questioning.
Exactly. So, I got Mech Commander Gold to work on my computer again.
Yes.
It's fun. I've beaten it. It's really hard. A lot harder than I remember. But, because it's Mech Commander and Mech Commander Desperate Measures was the expansion. And then it came out as Mech Commander Gold. And as of 2006, it's hard to find now a site that's, you do it, but you do a little bit of Google searching or internet searching, you'll find it a free download. Microsoft put it out for free as of 2006. So,
Okay.
So you can get it if you're interested. Do a little bit of searching, you'll find it, whatever. But it got me thinking, because Mech Commander...
You do that.
I do that. Mech Commander was produced by FASA, the FASA Corporation. Now, if anybody grew up in the 90s and was into some role-playing games or into some board gaming stuff and into some things that wasn't just your standard stuff like Sorry and Monopoly, you probably knew of FASA Corporation. Probably. Not necessarily, but they did the classic BattleTech board game, as they still call it, but it's really a war game, was produced by them. I think they did Shadowrun. I don't remember. But they were one of your quintessential companies to look at for things that were RPG or gaming related. 2001, they magically disappeared. They're kind of back, but not really, but kind of. But my point is that they produced the BattleTech range, the war game, essentially, the board game, war game. They produced Mech Commander. Then through them and through the dissemination of their IP property, even when they were still around, you had Microsoft making things, because there was classic BattleTech and Mech Warrior. There was a Mech Warrior books, BattleTech books, two different book ranges, kind of the same story, but two different book ranges. Then you had a classic BattleTech war game, but then you had like your Mech Warrior video games and PC games. So you have this one IP, essentially, which is the same. I mean, it gets confusing because BattleTech and Mech Warrior are the same thing with a different name.
Yeah.
But one was more of a video game, one was more books and RPG and tabletop.
And reading.
Yeah. So even when they were alive, the company was actively doing stuff with it. They, I guess you could say, outsourced their IP to multiple different things. You ended up with Microsoft making a whole bunch of stuff with MicroProse, Mech Warrior 3, Mech Warrior 4 stuff, Mech Assault for Xbox. And then FASA just dips off the face of the earth in 2001. I remember that. I actually remember when that happened. I think it was 2001. I remember when that happened, when they dipped off the face of the earth, because a lot of people were like, but what happened? But and then, WizKids got BattleTech. And they made some clicks. They made Mech Warrior clicks.
I remember the clicks.
I have some, or a decent amount. Then, through that, WizKids still has a property, but through them, they then had in turn and said, hey, Catalyst Game Labs, make the BattleTech RPG again. Or RPG and make the BattleTech board game. So, they did that. And Iron Wind Metals is still producing the models for it. So when you think about it, we have so many chefs making this one stew, and I think I was thinking about this, and I do have a point to this. Is that because I back when it was just FASA, they had quarterly magazines which I was subscribed to. A huge kind of especially for that time. This is before the internet was really took off.
The thing.
And really, even when the internet was around, it was before we had this huge online, resource that is the.
Back in our day, we could only see who painted the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, well, basically, back in the day, the internet was basically nothing more than just news and buy this product.
Yeah.
Or the internet gave you the means to contact somebody by phone and order the product, but. Because it was still, I would say, in its infancy of what it is today.
I remember having to do that with GW, calling them up and ordering stuff.
I had to do that with FASA. I had to do that with, because I was part of their mech thing, and it was a great little quarterly magazine that produced by basically a whole bunch of different articles with different gaming clubs that play the game, yada yada yada. So
not gonna lie, for a second there, I thought you were gonna say, and was basically produced by a hobo.
Basically, let's be honest, basically produced by a hobo. So which is probably factual, but when it was still FASA basically in control of it, everything was centralized. You knew basically who to contact for what, and It felt more supported because of that. Virtual World produced the Mech Pod thing, which was amazing. And there's one in Texas is basically the only place that still has it, and they hit the road every so often. And I wants to go there because you used to have it on Long Island. I don't know if you remember Sports Plus.
Yep.
Had the mech pod things. They were great. Anyway,
Yep.
that was still...
I remember the mech pods.
What?
I remember those.
They were. I got pretty good at it because I spent a lot of my time and money on it. But that was still centralized. It was through Virtual World at the time, but licensed by Phaser through them. You know what I mean? So it's still a centralized thing. You could go to the Phaser website and find the video games, the mech pods, the board games, everything was there and supported. And then when everything got disseminated, or whatever you want to call it, and pushed out for a whole bunch of different people to have different IPs for it, I think that's really when, around that time, because that's basically when the Mech Quarterly thing kind of went defunct, and and the Mech Warrior or BattleTech War game kind of, I don't want to say died, because it's still alive and well, but when it went under the radar. Because it was pretty big back in the day. And so that got me wondering, you look at some companies now, and you almost see something kind of similar with some companies, maybe outsourcing product or IPs for certain things. Now, nowhere in the same regard, and I'm not saying that GW would have to worry or GW fans would have to worry because, we had Dawn of War. We have
Eternal Crusade coming out.
Yeah, Eternal Crusade coming out, and we have Fantasy Flight Games now in charge of their RPG stuff. It used to be Black Industries, and for those of you that don't know, Black Industries and Black Library, were subsidiaries of GW and stuff like that. And Black Library still is, but Black Industries went away. Black Industries used to be where the Warhammer Fantasy RPG was, and where the was it Dark Crusade or whatever it was.
Something like that.
The 40K, I forget the name of the first one, is where 40K...
Dark Heresy?
Yeah, Dark Heresy's RPG started. And then Black Industries went away, and they went to Fantasy Flight Games. And Fantasy Flight Games has a whole bunch of stuff outside of just that. So I'm not saying that GW's in a crisis of just magically disappearing tomorrow and having all their IP just, sent out and basically support go away. But my thought is, I think that was a big reason why BattleTech kind of went the way it is today, where it's kind of like, I heard of that maybe. Do you think that could be an issue for some, let's say, up-and-coming war games? Could that be a potential danger if they go, I can get this done by doing this, basically dismantling their IP in a way and having multiple different pieces to that puzzle in multiple different hands?
I think it would only be an issue if there was a poor contract between everybody.
Right.
The reason why, we don't know what the contract situation was with these guys when they were breaking everything up and giving everything out to each other.
Yeah.
So I think that may have played a part in it, where it was just you have the IP where's our payment? It's like, you gave us, 90% of profit, so here's your $10 type of thing. Yeah. And they were like, then we have to shut down. And then them going, they're our main source, and so now we might as well just stop because they're no longer doing it, so blah, blah, and the whole thing just peters off.
Right.
Unlike with GW, where GW still keeps a fairly bit of revenue from all of its outsourced material.
Oh, yeah.
I think if there's anything a company that does that needs to do, if they're up-and-comers, they need to have a centralized, they have to, one, make sure their contracts are written in such a way where they're not getting screwed over, go over that with a fine-tooth comb before they sign the dotted line.
Yeah.
And I think they have to have at least part of it with them, a centralized location for everything. Because then they could go we'll provide the web store for the product. So we get the profit from the web store, and you get a percentage of the sale type of thing. So they can kind of keep control of everything, because everything has to go back to them.
Right. And I'd agree with that a little bit. It's just just thinking about it, because it used to be centralized, and then it just got spread out. And to be honest, I'm surprised, there we go, that Ironwind Metals still exists. You can go to that web store, and I purchased stuff for them 2 years ago.
I actually went to a hobby shop recently, and I found a bunch of BattleTech stuff. I was like, James.
Yeah, I love BattleTech. I mean, I really love it. I want to learn. The thing with BattleTech is it's a hex system.
Yes.
So, classically, you could say, you play it on a hex board, which limits your terrain building capability. People still build 3D hex terrain. It looks kind of funny because it's built in hexes, but then they have a conversion in their own rules, in the more advanced rules, to do it hexless. You still use a hex base on your models, but hexless stuff where you just measure like a traditional war game, which is where like 95.9%, let's say, of people, and that's being conservative, play it hexless. So, but it's just because I remember as things got more and more hectic and chaotic and confusing after Phaser just up and quit for whatever reason. And it was literally just like, oh, hey, see you tomorrow, Bob, and then tomorrow never came for them. Well, it was really weird. But, and then stuff got, I guess, handled poorly via contracts and whatnot. And I'm just thinking about it because this day and age, through either kickstarting or through different stuff, you could have, conceivably, and we see it, in Battletech still, Catalyst Game Labs makes the rules. But it's a very happy relationship because they on their side have a direct link to Ironwind Metals for doing stuff. But it's like it's essentially two different things. Like they don't see a cut of, I'm guessing, or they probably see very minimal stuff, if anything, for model sale. They just see rule sales. Yeah. And interestingly enough, their introductory set has plastic models in it, but they don't make plastic models anymore. There was talk about it. I don't know if they actually committed to trying it, but they never went anywhere with that. And that's one example of a company doing rules and models elsewhere. You can kind of see it with X-Wing, because you have the same rules essentially being used for Star Trek. Which is really dumb. I looked up more of it, and the more I looked it up, the more dumb it sounded to me, because the rules were built for dogfighting, and they have big capital-class ships doing the exact same maneuvers as an X-Wing. And it's like, how can the Enterprise move like that?
The issue with that I think with that is, Wizards of the Coast saw an opportunity to revitalize the Star Trek game, and they figured that since X-Wing was doing so well, it was the best thing to mimic. And
the rules are good, it's just that they could.
It's not for them.
It's not for them. For the like, if they
how can the
took
Enterprise
the rules,
do a U-turn like that?
Exactly. If they took the rules and they further refined it and took some of those maneuvers out and just not changed it to make it 100% different, but if they just refined it for more capital ship class fighting, it probably would have done a lot better. But the fact that they can basically do a whole U-turn and a crazy corner and things that dogfighting, like is the X-Wing systems for dogfighting, and capital ships don't dogfight like that. Is what hurt it. But you just see that, well, here's a rule. We can now outsource that in a sense, instead of having, we're going to have the rules, you make our models. And I just, I'm just curious if you or Fearless Gamers see that as a potential worry, for their gaming system. It's worked for Battletech, but I think the only reason it worked for Battletech is Battletech has existed for a while before that happened. The company was producing the models for a while, and the rules have been out long enough that people got the old rules, and then the new rules from Catalyst Games was just a rehash of the rules, a cleanup of it. So because it's been out for so long, it was able to happen. Whereas you have, because those rules came out in 84, 85, started the Battletech game. So it had some time up until 2000 for it to get, out there. But let's say you have an up-and-coming company, few years old, 5 years old, making games, and all of a sudden have a logistics breakdown and outsourcing like that, it could cripple a game.
Yes, it can.
So that just reminded me of that, which is thinking of that, and that reminded me of Chapter House, because people are still up in arms about the Chapter House thing. Yes,
which and I hate to sound heartless, but it was his own fault.
It was, and people are trying to bring up the fact, well, the stuff that he made, GW didn't have models out for yet. Which doesn't matter.
They still owned it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if the model didn't exist at the time.
That's like George Lucas introducing an alien in a good example, the Bothans, let's just say.
Yeah.
You never see a Bothan in the original trilogy. That doesn't give any company the right to make their own version of a Bothan and go, well, George, they never appeared in the movie, so we have total rights to it. No, he still invented them. He still copyrighted the name.
Right, and another example would be like, okay, the Tyranid whatever didn't exist as a model yet, but we know it exists as an entry and as a fluff. That would be like going, well, the Super Star Destroyer doesn't have a model yet in X-Wing, so we're going to make it.
Yeah.
They still own it as a thing for their property.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't use that argument or that excuse. Well, you didn't have a model yet because it's still their IP.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all.
He had and his whole, well, I made mine bigger. It doesn't matter. You still rip them off,
right? It doesn't matter. And people might be saying, well, what about other companies? Because, like we said before, there are other companies that do basically the same idea in terms of upgrades, but they don't call it Tyranid stuff.
They call it alien monster heads.
Yeah,
they call them orc
weapons.
with a C. Orc with a C, with a K, with a C. Bit heads, and they say great for any 28mm scale model.
Yeah, or like bio swords, which are clearly a biological
bone swords
thing, and then or like knight legs or Templar armor, for like doing Space Marine bits. They word it and they make no exact comparison to it or show it in any particular way with what it's meant to replace or take the part of.
Yes, that was another thing. Chapter House showed GW's models with his bits on them.
Yeah.
These companies don't do that. They either show the bits or they show the full model if it's their full model.
Right. And they call it something completely different.
Yes.
Like one company calls their shoulder pads, which work really well for pre-Heresy Terminator shoulder pads, large shoulder pads.
Yep.
That's all they call it. And it works surprisingly well, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, on Terminators. So, that's how it works. You can't say this is Salamander Chaplain. Oh,
yeah.
You can't say that.
This is Farseer on a bike.
Yeah.
Female striking scorpion.
Like that.
Cow super vehicle.
Like that's the other thing. Like, don't get me wrong. While I personally, here's the weird thing. You look at when you could look at Chapter House's website. The product images he showed made me go, I don't really want to get those. They don't look that great. Now, don't get me wrong. I can't do any better.
Yeah,
I would only make it look even worse. But to me, it wasn't up to what I would want to replace what's already really good looking on GW stuff.
Yeah.
But then I see some people stuff on like Cool Mini or not, and they used with Chapter House upgrades on it, and I went, that looks pretty good painted up like that. But I'm like, why couldn't they make their picture
for advertisements
look better than that, right? But
they should have hired that dude to do their modeling.
Right. But so that was the weird thing. But I didn't want to see Chapter House go down, period. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I didn't want to see it, but I couldn't really come to its defense. Not that it matters, but people yelling on the internet. I couldn't really come to the aid of Chapter House because it wasn't like, oh, he didn't know. It was, it wasn't like, oh, it was ambiguous. There was no way to defend it. There's really no way to defend it. His model's bigger is a BS argument. The model didn't exist beforehand is a BS argument. Like, calling it the exact thing by name doesn't help your case. So it's like, I would love to rally behind and be like, no, this is wrong, or I would love to say, oh no, he was doing something different. He was making generic stuff, but there was no way. There was no way to defend it.
The only thing I could defend him on is the whole, like, with his whole new Kickstarter that he had.
Yeah. His
assets on that should not have been frozen. Because that was nothing related whatsoever to GW's products. But I don't know how court legal systems work, so I can't really say. That would be the only thing I could give an opinion on that defends him, is that stuff was revenue he decided to work on after he lost. He went, okay, I lost. I'm shutting everything they said for me to shut down. I'm going to start a new project that has nothing to do with their stuff and move on. And I don't think he should have lost out on the money he made from that.
I guess. The only thing I could see from that, though, is, like, we're seizing the profits from that because the money you had initially to help start your Kickstart was gotten from us, basically. Like I said,
I don't know, like, the legal stuff and all that jazz, so I'd have to defer to that type of stuff, which you could be right. He could have used GW money, for lack of a better term, for right now, to produce his Kickstarter.
Right. That's the only thing I could see. But it's just like to try and I can't even try to defend Chapter House. I mean, you called it Chapter House, like Space Marine, and you sold Space Marine bits. And you labeled it clearly as Space Marine bits and Eldar bits, and there was no way I could try and step in front of in the way for that at all, because not legally, not like I'm a lawyer or anything, but it's just like, just in general, there's no way I could have an opinion along that side, because it was like it was trying to get caught, Yeah. It was that bad.
What is he going to do, sue us?
Yeah, right?
Wait a minute.
We're only making it exactly like, oh, wait. I mean, even this new CEO, who has a really awesome last name of Roundtree, if that's his real name, would probably have caught that. And he's going to be this...
that's the new GW CEO's name?
Kevin Roundtree.
Interesting.
Assuming that's his last name, but I don't know if I've ever seen a non-round tree in my life, like in the wild. Like, I don't think I've seen a square tree. I've seen square watermelons because the Japanese are crazy. But
yes, I've seen Mickey-shaped eared watermelons because Disney's also crazy.
Yes, but I don't think I've ever seen anything a tree that wasn't round. Now, I'm not saying it's a circle, but it's definitely a round tree.
Now, one thing I just want to say before we close up for today regarding that new CEO there, why is everyone surprised GW did an in-hire?
Right?
Like, everyone's there going, why did they not promote me? Why didn't they hire me? I would have totally fixed the company and done this, and this. I'm like, well, for starters, you're telling everyone you're going to do everything GW doesn't want to do. So they don't want a CEO like that. And two, it's just easier.
Yeah.
Literally, to do an in-hire.
And also, it's easier, for a company this size, it's easier, because let's say somebody's business-oriented, been in business for 25 years, right? Doing stuff that basically would make them CEO-worthy for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But this dude, has supposedly been in GW for 14 years itself, just there for 14 years. Definitely, and aside from being, popular in the company, that doesn't matter. I mean, it helps, but for my argument, it doesn't matter, because who knows how long he's been doing businessy stuff before GW, if at all. But he's had 14 years with this company. He knows the ins and outs. He has an idea of the goings on. If you could be a veteran of 30 years of doing this stuff, but you just get popped into a new position, this new company you've never been with before.
They're going to have to teach you.
There's going to be some hiccups. It's just the way it is. Because, granted, I could see the light of the reasoning for wanting somebody who's outside of that, because you don't want a yes man necessarily.
Yeah, you don't want someone who's going to say, well, I better do what GW's been doing or else I'm going to get canned, especially since I've been promoting it this entire time.
Right. But, you don't. I could see the worry of getting just another yes man, but at the same time, it's easier, it's quicker. There's less training needing going on, because he kind of knows the ins and outs of the company already. So it's not that surprising. It's like any other big company is probably going to go internally first.
Yep. It's like for anything on that front, and also not for nothing. Like, for the most part, in hires are cheaper than outside hiring.
Yeah, it can be.
Because it's just like, oh, we could either add this extra guy in and throw him on this salary, or pay that guy an extra $100 more.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely end up being cheaper and economically for wages type of thing.
Yep.
But it's also just smart. Like, if this guy is capable and if this guy is good already, capable for that position and knows the company, then there we go with that.
And if Kirby worked with him before, then the guy knows, like, the guy probably has been, if he was a smart type of employee who wanted this type of job, he's hanged out with the CEO to get, like, a handle of what he has to do. So now he already knows what's going on. He already's probably maybe participated in some sort of actions. So it's just the smart choice on their front.
Yeah, and also we're talking about a big company. They got shareholders. Not something that you normally see in the wargaming world. It's a huge company. Anybody up in arms about this, the CEO isn't going to come to your house and roundhouse you.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. But this isn't going to kill you.
Yeah, I've read. Now I'm just picturing Ding Dong. Are you Jib 5231? Yeah. That's for calling me an idiot. That's what visually. That's a new With the Fearless right there. But like I've seen some of these comments like, I applied, why didn't they hire me? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, since your screen username is Chuck Norris Kickass 231, I don't think you're CEO material.
Right.
And two, checking up, you've been the loudest voice for hating GW in the last 5 years. Why would we hire you?
Right. But I mean, even that aside, haters or super fans or whatever, chances are, unless you're higher up in business already or been a CEO somewhere,
yeah,
we don't know exactly what it takes. We may think we have an idea, but you really don't. I mean, I did see Wolf on Wall Street, so I think I know. Fair enough. But it's like, yeah, could some of us survive in that position? Just thrust it into it, probably. And to be honest, the company would probably survive too, because the W is just that big that they could they could have a defunct kind of CEO in a way, somebody who's learning the ropes.
That's what the board of directors is for,
right? But they, knowing to freak out, because sometimes people see, the CEO change, they're dying or whatever it is. No, that's business. It's just business.
It's just that since it's something we're interested in, we're going to know about it. Like, how many people in this hobby here are aware every time Target or Walmart changes their CEO?
That's my point. Like, people think it's like, it's the end of the world. No, this is business. It happens all the time.
It's business. It happens all the time. It's just that because we're interested in this particular company, we're more hyper-tuned to when changes within it happen.
Exactly. And you know what? The CEO changed.
Yeah. It happens. Jack Kirby was tired of doing it.
Whoop-de-doo-dah, because, to be honest, CEOs changed before, and it's never affected me personally. You may be saying, price this and release that. It's not just a CEO going, I demand more pie. No, it's not. There's a board, there's a shareholder, there's a whole process. There's a whole bureaucracy to it. So it really isn't going to matter. Like, really, the CEO kind of doesn't matter. So
the CEO is very much, he has a little bit of power, but it's not like he's sitting on the golden throne and he's decreeing these things and things are happening. Like, it isn't Kirby going, make only 10 models, and them going, yes, master, yes. There's a couple there going, no, I think we'll sell more than 10, so let's make out about 50.
There's a whole department.
All right, fine.
There's a whole, logistics department and stuff like that for just such a thing. And he can't sit in the golden throne. He's occupied. That guy's not leaving anytime soon.
Yeah. But with that, we are out of time. Thank you all for listening. And honestly, Fearless Gamers, which Primarch are you most interested in seeing them make a model of? And do you share the Wildcard fears that we're going to start seeing these fluff filler books in the Horus Heresy series?
Yes, and something for the next one, which I hopefully will remember. Do you use music when you? I don't mean at a store. Like, I don't mean a game hobby shop where you actually go out. But, there are plenty of clubs and people will just play at a house or whatever it is. Do you use music as background music to kind of, set the tone a bit? It was a thing done in the 90s. I'm wondering how many people do it now, and I have something to bring up in the next podcast about that. So, put forth the comments.
And so, with that, thank you all for listening, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
Dan's Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace.